like fowl. And yet, a bandit's life is more important than a soldier's life. If soldier discharge one bullet for bush to protect himself, una go charge am. If boys enter bush to go take revenge, una go charge them. No be. This is a man did not just die. Men are not just dying. Generations are dying. People that depended on this man, a whole family he carried on his back, died with him. We are waiting till they finish all of us before we go say something. Port Harcourt, whenever take have blood like Maiduguri don't take, they declared state of emergency. The president declared it on the 18th of March this year. So tell me why till now they never declare for Maiduguri. Why have the military not been given the power to take Maiduguri take the bull by the horn? Don't be everything we go talk online. We know. People don't know. We dey watch news. We dey hear things. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that some of the people they do this shit, they get passports. Some of us no get. So when it's up, they go run leave the country for us. But the God that does not take preference or bribe, it's my new consolence. Because every man go pay wetin his soul.
I'm so sorry. Lady, do you know why I shared that video with you? Because I wanted to, for a moment, for the first time in a long time, watch how the wives of a soldier actually feels in Nigeria today. Those ones who have become widows and what they are passing through. And the ones that currently don't even know what will become the fate of their own husband. And as a soldier, you expected that well, eventually you may be killed, you may die, because that's what you signed up for. But did any of them sign up for sitting ducks while terrorists hold sway? Did any of them sign up for being set up for ambush, having compromised intels, destroying young men? You have no idea the number of Nigerian soldiers that have been killed. Let them ask the Chief of Defense Staff of Nigeria, Mr. Oluyode. Since this, your supposed war against terror started, can you give us the data of the number of Nigerian soldiers killed? Do you think they'd give you the data? You are still going to feel comfortable like this? You feel comfortable that they are negotiating with terrorists? No, you won't. Apart from the fact that, if this happened in any of your communities, you're never going to feel the same way you are feeling. You're not going to talk the way you are talking. But I played that clip because now you can imagine that those soldiers themselves, they also have families. They have dependents. They have those who actually prayed for a day they are going to come back. But now those people are now just living in that state of uncertainty. Maybe they will never come back. Now, a soldier that feels like he's putting his life on the line, defending his country, now watches the politicians roll out the red carpet for the terrorists. They are all watching. Are they not watching? All these soldiers are on social media too. Terrorists are now on social media going live in Nigeria because nobody is looking for them. But they want the rest of the world to believe that they are doing something. Trump is just gaslighting them. And I think these lawmakers believe them.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I have no problem sharing that. I am also troubled by the state of religious freedom in Nigeria and around the world. So I want to be clear up front, violence against Christians in Nigeria is a serious issue. Christians are being massacred and communities are living in constant fear. But this suffering is not just confined to one religious group. Masad Boulos, President Trump's own senior advisor for Africa, recently said, quote, "People are suffering from all sorts of backgrounds. This is not specifically targeted at one group or other. Terrorism has no color and no religion and no tribe." President Trump's own senior advisor. Muslims and Christians alike have lived under the constant threat of extremist groups like Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa for far too long. And so the real story here for me is not about Nigeria's intent at the institutional level to persecute people based on faith. Instead, it's really an issue of capacity. The Nigerian government lacks the means to protect communities against groups that kill indiscriminately. To be clear, this does not abdicate the Nigerian government from responsibility. A government's duty is to protect its people. And when there's a failure to do so, whether that's neglect or corruption or governance, leaders must be held accountable. But capacity within Nigerian institutions maintain peace is a real question, and we should be asking what the U.S. is doing to help Nigeria build that capacity. Are we offering real partnerships or just threatening airstrikes and sanctions? Or instead, are we thinking about technical support, training, and investment in the institutions that prevent violence in the first place? So let's work together to fix what is broken, and I appreciate the ranking member for opening up this hearing with additional support options, and I want to thank, again, the chairman for convening this. On the issue of capacity, Ambassador Pratt, you've said that Nigeria needs to do more. If they don't have the capacity to do more, we should help with that. And so I want to know, I guess my question there is, does the State Department assess that the Nigerian government has the capacity to protect Christians and other religious groups from extremist violence?
Nigeria is...
And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jaipal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank our witnesses for being here this morning. And before we turn to Nigeria, since this is the first time we have you in front of us, in front of the committee, I just want to quickly talk about Sudan, because I do think this is so critical. And the humanitarian situation there, the incredible numbers, I mean, 400,000 killed, over 11 million displaced, 30 million in need of humanitarian aid. This is just a stunning crisis, and I did want to appreciate the administration's recent comments on this, particularly Secretary Rubio, when he called for action to cut off the supply of weapons to the Rapid Support Forces. And as the Secretary had previously acknowledged, it has been widely documented that the UAE has been one of the primary drivers in fueling those weapons to the RSF. So I hope that I want to urge the administration to use every piece of leverage that we have to halt that support. And I hope, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your leadership and for the ranking member's leadership on this issue. I hope that we can take up the bill from Representative Meeks and Representative Jacobs. I know it was on our agenda, but I think it's important for us to take up that bill at the earliest opportunity, because this is a moment for us, I think, to all focus on the horrific crisis there. So just want to urge you to do everything you can, and we are spending a lot of time on this issue. I have a lot of constituents who are directly impacted by this in the Sudanese diaspora. So thank you for that. The devastating levels of violence in Nigeria are clear, but I appreciate that people have also recognized it isn't just the persecution of Christians. This is persecution of multiple groups, and I think we have to be careful not to portray it just as persecution of Christians. That feels to me simplistic, and it doesn't account for the intersectional diversity of Nigeria. Certainly religion is a contributing factor to the violence, but a review by the Search for Common Ground found that in Nigeria's Middle Belt region, religion was not a primary driver of conflict. Instead, violence has been directed against both Christians and Muslims, regardless of religion, at the hands of armed terror groups like Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa, or fueled by differences in lifestyle between farmer and herder groups compounded by climate change and governance issues. And so I want to start by saying I'm very concerned that a day after President Trump saw a clip on Fox News about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria, he threatened to go, quote, guns a-blazing in Nigeria and revoke all assistance. That would include all global health funding, despite Nigeria accounting for over a quarter of annual malaria deaths a year, and being home to the world's third largest population living with HIV. These are all issues I worked on in Africa long before coming to Congress. In response, the Nigerian government criticized any action that would violate Nigeria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. I know, Ambassador Pratt, that you've spoken about some agreements, some conversations and a task force with the Nigerian government, but can you tell me under what authority would the U.S. military strike inside of Nigeria?
Well, the Secretary of State, and thank you for the question, Congresswoman. The Secretary of State has directed us to put together a comprehensive plan that uses all tools at our disposal, including security and Department of War. And this would be primarily focused on the security that we are providing to the government of Nigeria and how they are deploying their assets. We can also share information and intelligence. We can talk about counterterrorism. And so those are the tools that we are primarily looking at in our strategy.
Don't you think it would have been appropriate to have the task force discussion and the alternatives presented prior to the president going on Truth Social and saying we're going to go guns a-blazing into Nigeria?
We've been working on these problem sets in Nigeria for a long time. We have a lot of programs of assistance in the country. They did undergo a foreign assistance review, but many of them continue, and we want to make sure that we're using them strategically to get the best outcomes.
Very diplomatically said, Ambassador. I just wish we would actually stick to that playbook rather than a bully and threaten of a country that is extremely important to us and to the region. I don't think that's the right way to go, to just go on Truth Social and threaten guns a-blazing. I think what you've described is much more appropriate, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of that. You know, we had Ambassador Kelly Curry here before a different subcommittee of this committee, former Trump appointee, and she said in front of the committee in a hearing yesterday, I think it's a very relevant quote, "You cannot solve problems created by men with guns by turning to men with guns for the solution." And I just would urge us to think about that. This is coming from a former Trump appointee. I think if we were to do this, it would just serve to further radicalize communities and risk turning the aggression of actors like Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa directly to the United States. I just have 50...
Gentlelady is.
Yeah, the talking point of Democrat politicians. Oh, it is climate change. That is why the Fulanis are moving down with their cows to the south, because it's climate change. And it is farmers' others clashes. So that is why the farmers are now clashing with the farmers, because they are destroying their farms. Have you seen Lake Chad? Have you seen Lake Chad? Baba, it'd be like ocean. So these guys could have all directed themselves to the Lake Chad and irrigate the place using the water from Lake Chad, irrigate the entire land, the desert, and they will have water. They will also have green area. But that's their selling point. When Donald Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, Joe Biden came, removed Nigeria, just like what Obama did in 2015. It was around the time that Goodluck Ebele, though late, so it was late, but it was around the time that Jonathan. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan hired this mercenary, and he was actually crushing this Boko Haram terrorist. Enough that, and it was the time that Barack Obama came and placed an embargo on Nigeria. Yeah. And that gave this, then Boko Haram came in. he gave this Boko Haram the opportunity to regroup. The rest is history today because they also introduced the Fulani terrorists. So Donald Trump came and said they needed to put pressure on Boko Haram's government, just like what they are trying to do now. Then Joe Biden came after him, removed Nigeria from that, and that gave room for Boko Haram and the APC, Egbekegbe, and all these Fulani jihadists, all these terrorists all over the place. It gave them the opportunity not just to regroup, in fact, to advance further. While they are telling Nigerians, they are hosting, they are hosting programs all over the place, telling Nigerians that it is climate change. It is climate change. Now we don't even see cows anymore. We are now seeing them on bikes with guns, weapons that's like weapons of mass destruction. They are taking lives left, right, and center every day. Do you know that the people they took from Eruku 3 days ago now, right? Do you know what they are demanding? The terrorists are now demanding 100 million naira per victim. Yeah. And from what we have found out, they took 38 people. That live video you saw that day, CAC Church, Eruku, in Kwara State. I heard that the state government has shut down schools and all that in about 5 local government areas because of these terrorists right now. Yeah. But yet, when it is time to actually really crush them, go after them, there are those who believe that that's not the way out. Give them money, talk to them like Gumi is doing. Unfortunately, there is more. So let's take a moment, by the way, since you are here this long, let's take a moment and for those of you watching on YouTube, especially, take a moment and like the broadcast, okay? So we have quite a number of us here tonight than the number of likes on the broadcast. So you can take it to 1,000 if you can before we wrap it up later. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. I like that. You need to do it just once, okay? Once you like the broadcast once, don't worry again. Just keep engaging. So from still that chamber, right, the Congress, another Congress woman feels like Donald Trump's way of going it is like that of a bully, like the other person. Now with some extra.
I appreciate the chairman's passion on this and his long work on Nigeria. I think it's a distortion to say that what we're trying to say is that there's nothing to see here. In fact, there is something to see here. There is very real conflict and violence that we need to address. I've been working on addressing conflict in Nigeria since 2013, 2014, when I was part of the counter Boko Haram strategy at the State Department. The violence impacting both Christian and Muslim communities is real, and the Nigerian government can and should do more to address it. I was horrified to learn of the killing of 2 people and the kidnapping of the pastor and a worshiper at a church in Kwara State. And this came only a few days after, as the chairman mentioned, criminal bandits kidnapped 25 girls in Kebbi State. But it is counterproductive to adopt oversimplistic narratives about the multiple complex overlapping security challenges and violence across the country. The victims in the Kebbi State kidnapping were all Muslim girls. So violence affects everyone, and false narratives perpetuate harmful stereotypes and motivate tensions and violence based on religious identity. Distorting what's happening into a solely religious narrative erases the real drivers of violence and makes it harder to implement effective solutions. And it can fuel violence against the very groups the Trump administration claims it wants to protect. That's why I'm alarmed by President Trump's rhetoric about this violence and threats to go into Nigeria, guns a-blazing, and to wipe out terrorists. We are already receiving reports of increased tensions between Christian and Muslim populations following this rhetoric. President Trump's threat is reckless, and any unilateral military action in Nigeria would be illegal. Congress has not authorized force in Nigeria to protect Christians, and any action without Nigeria's consent violates international law. We also know that a military-first response won't actually address the violence and will do very little to protect Christian communities.
So that's their own argument. Similar talking points. Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about Christians. He's just coming to take your resources. You know what I mean? By the time they come in now, it's not just going to be the northern Nigeria. They could even go as far as blowing Dangote refinery. Oh, do you know that with what Trump just did, the Christians and Muslims, they